So as we had said before, these exchange rates are what's known as floating. And what that means is they don't stay the same. Just because the price currently of $1 in terms of euros is 0.84 euros doesn't mean it's going to stay that way. It changes over time. So suppose we ended up seeing some sort of shift of our supply and demand. As we know from Unit 2, a shift of our demand is going to cause a change in the price. And by that shift, what we notice now is that the price of the the price of the US dollar in terms of euros has changed. It used to be that it cost you 0.84 euros to buy a dollar. Now it costs you 0.91 euros. The dollar is now more expensive. But what causes these shifts to occur? So let's think about this specifically in terms of the US dollar as we explain some of these shifts. One of the shifts might be consumers' tastes. And so let's think of it this way. Maybe United States cars become super popular, right? Maybe foreigners look at the Ford F-150 and they just love that American-made truck, and they say, you know what, we want that American-made truck. And so all of a sudden, more foreigners are demanding US dollars in order to purchase all of these trucks, right? And as they're demanding more US dollars, the demand for that currency increases. The demand for the US dollar shifts to the right. Now, as we know with anything else, as the demand increases, the price is going to rise. And we see that with our change in equilibrium. As the demand for the US dollar increases, it drives the price of the US dollar up. And the US dollar becomes, in a sense, more valuable. It's worth more. The price of the US dollar goes up. Another one might be relative incomes. Let's suppose that people over in Europe all of a sudden start making more money relative to people in the United States. Well, what we end up seeing is that people over in Europe, just as they do before, they buy US goods, but now that they make more money, they're going to buy even more US goods. And because they're now buying or demanding more US goods, they're going to be demanding more US dollars in order to do that. And so, as they do that, as the demand for the US dollar increases, the price or the value of the US dollar is going to rise. It now costs more euros in order to purchase one US dollar. Another one is relative inflation. So think of it this way. Suppose that prices over in Europe start to rise faster than the prices in the United States. Well, as that happens, as prices in Europe are getting more expensive more quickly, Europeans might look at that and say, wow, stuff here is getting more expensive. It's relatively cheaper in the United States. Their prices aren't rising as fast. And so maybe Europeans will opt to buy more US goods because they appear cheaper than the fast rising prices in Europe. And as they demand more US dollars in order to buy those US goods, demand for the US dollar goes up and the value or the price of the US dollar rises. That exchange rate goes up. And then finally is speculation and confidence. Confidence really has to do with what people think of the currency. People will determine what they think in terms of how the economy in that country is doing, and they might invest in the currency of that country if the country is doing well enough. Or people also might speculate based on different events happening in a country. We'll talk later about how Brexit with England had a big impact on the value of their currency, just because people being unsure about what that was going to do to that country and to their economy. A lot of people were speculating about that. And so it caused big changes in the demand for the British pound. Now, whenever we say that the price of one US dollar has gone from 0.84 euros to 0.91 euros, well, what does that mean for the price of 1 euro? Like, remember, we had said before that the price of 1 euro was $1.18. Well, now after this change, what's the price of a euro? There's actually a really, really easy formula for us to find the exchange rate going the other way. And all you have to do is take 1 over the exchange rate. And here's what we mean by that. We said that if $1 is now equal to 0.91 euros, what is 1 euro in terms of US dollars? Well, all you have to do is take 1 divided by the exchange rate. So we would take 1 divided by 0.91, and that would tell us how much 1 euro costs in US dollars. And if we do the math there, we find that 1 euro is equal to $1.10. Now, here's one thing I want us to see, because while we saw this shift of demand happening for the US dollar, what we didn't show was that at the same time there was a shift in supply happening for the euro. So let's take a look at that. So we said if the demand for the US dollar increases, that means euros are being traded for US dollars. So as the demand for the US dollar increases, the supply for the euro increases as well. Write this on your notes somewhere. And I'm going to explain it in a minute, but write this down. Different curves, same direction. Different curves, same direction. Here's what we mean by that. So we said the demand for the US dollar is increasing. We saw that demand shift to the right. And so we have this new equilibrium where the price of one US dollar has increased from 0.84 up to 0.91. But just like how that graph on the left is the supply and demand for the US dollar, this one on the right is the supply and demand for the euro. So our original equilibrium there is that 1 euro was $1.18, which matched up with our equilibrium on the other side where it was 0.84, right? We said that was the exchange rate where 1 US dollar equals 0.84 euros, but at the same time, 1 euro equals $1.18 US. Now, as all these Europeans are demanding more US dollars, in order to demand those US dollars, they have to supply their own currency. So they would increase the supply of the euro to the foreign exchange market. And if you notice, as the price of the US dollar goes up, the price of the euro goes down. And this should make sense. Like, think about it. If it now costs you more euros in order to buy 1 US dollar, that's the same thing as saying it's going to cost you fewer dollars to buy 1 euro, right? And that's exactly what we see happen here. As the demand increases for the US dollar, the supply will increase for the euro. That's what we meant by different curve, but they're moving in the same direction. And if you notice, to what price is that new equilibrium shifted for the euro? Well, we did that math. We did 1 divided by 0.91, and we saw that it changed from $1.18 to $1.10. So here's what we're saying here. Looking at the US dollar, since the US dollar is now more expensive, it has gained value, we say that the US dollar has appreciated. It's gone up in value. It is now worth more. But on the other hand, we say that the euro, since it's now cheaper, it loses its value and it has depreciated. When we're comparing two currencies, we will always see that as one appreciates or goes up in value, the other will depreciate and go down in value. So let's do a little bit of practice with those foreign currencies, US dollar exchange rates. So again, we had said we have that same formula, 1 over the exchange rate. Why don't you go ahead and pause the video and work through these really quickly. So if we take a look at the New Zealand dollar, what this tells us is that the cost of 1 US dollar is $1.39 in New Zealand dollars. So we want to fill in that other side. We want to say, okay, well, if that's the case, how much is 1 New Zealand dollar in US dollars? Well, again, we just do 1 divided by the exchange rate, and we end up getting that 1 New Zealand dollar costs you 72 cents US. Now, how about the Bahraini dinar? If we look at this and we say, okay, 1 dinar costs $2.66, how much is 1 US dollar going to cost you in terms of the dinar? And again, we just do 1 divided by 2.66, and we get 0.38. So in order to buy 1 US dollar, you need 0.38 dinar. Now, how about the Canadian dollar? If you notice that 1 Canadian dollar will cost you 76 cents US. So how much is 1 US dollar going to cost you in terms of Canadian dollars? Well, again, if we do 1 divided by 0.76, we get 1.32. Or we say that 1 US dollar is going to cost us $1.32 in Canadian dollars. I don't know if you guys were like me as a kid, where you like looked at a book and the price of a book, and it said it was like one price in the US and it was always more expensive in Canada. I always thought that was just because we wanted to charge Canada more. But here we learned that foreign exchange rates is why it's different. It's not different just because we want to charge a different amount to Canadians. It's because our dollars are worth a different amount. Now, how about the Thai baht? It takes 31.70 Thai bahts in order to purchase 1 US dollar. So therefore, each Thai baht is worth how many US dollars? Well, they're each worth about 3 cents based on rounding. And how about the Azerbaijani manat? If we were to say, okay, $1 costs you is 1.70 Azerbaijani manats, we just do 1 divided by 1.70, and you get 1 manat would cost you 59 cents US.